Welcome to the Wellness League podcast with your host Ella. And today, my friend is Steph Moore. Steph is a CrossFit coach and owner of CrossFit CBD in Melbourne, and also a nutrition coach. So, super interesting story, especially that we're in CrossFit Open season. So, let's dive in. All right, let's get started. So, firstly, who are you?
Hi everyone, my name is Steph Moore. I am the co-owner of a CrossFit affiliate in Melbourne called CrossFit CBD. I also co-own Ultra Athlete, which is an online programming platform, and I am a nutrition coach for CFK Nutrition. So yeah, I have my finger in a few pies. I also am a mum to a almost 2-year-old.
Oh, how good. Hang on, CFK, isn't it CrossFit Kate's nutrition brand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep,
Oh, that's so exciting. She's coming on the
yeah.
podcast in 3 weeks' time, I think.
Amazing. Yeah, she'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
Her and I go back a long way now. We started working together at a different nutrition company, and then I took a break because went on maternity leave essentially, and then when I came back, she had started her own nutrition company, and so yeah, she asked me to come on board, and it was a no-brainer for me. She's brilliant and just a joy to work with.
I've done some of her CrossFit programming before, and like her programming is insanely good. What's your earliest memory of being fit?
Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting question. And I'm glad that you sent it to me earlier because I've been thinking about it for a little while. I grew up dancing, so I went to a local dance school from properly from the age of 8 until I was 18, and I danced many nights a week. But what was interesting about that was that I didn't think of that as being fit. I just thought of that as something that I enjoyed doing. And I think what I noticed was that it didn't necessarily cross over to being fit in other areas of my life. So I never considered myself a sporty person. I
Yeah.
didn't really partake in group sports. I wasn't great at little athletics or any of the sports days that we had at our school. So I think really and truly my earliest memory of feeling actually fit was after I started CrossFit.
Do you find that the dancing side helps you with like the gymnastic side of CrossFit?
Yeah, I can definitely see a crossover in body awareness, probably more so than anything else. But I would also say that there's some coordination that's built into my system, my brain, connecting to parts of my body a little bit more easily than those that maybe haven't had any background having used their body in that capacity before. So yeah, I think that it has certainly helped me be able to pick up movements probably a little quicker.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So, starting CrossFit, where did you find it, and where was your first place you started training?
I love this story because I was living in Adelaide before I started CrossFit, and I had a friend who had just started it, and he was so into it. And the typical message that we all get sent around CrossFit is that he did talk about it a lot. Every time I saw him, he would talk about CrossFit. But this was back in 2012, so CrossFit was brand new in Australia at that time. It really was only just emerging its head. I think there might have only been one CrossFit box in all of Adelaide, because when he told me about it, I was like, oh, wow, like there's not really many, if only one place that I can go if I want to try this.
Which one
But
was
I
it? Do
was
you remember?
already, no, I don't. I really don't remember. I know that CrossFit Adelaide has been around for a really long time, but they are actually
Yeah.
closer to me than where I believe the box he was going at. So there could have been two, and that might have been one that I was looking at. But yeah, I mean, gosh, it's 11 years ago now. I can hardly remember. I know there weren't many, if at all. So I was already planning on moving to Melbourne at that time. I'd already had a few things in the works. So I moved to Melbourne on New Year's Day in 2013. And one of the things that really stuck with me about his version of CrossFit was that the community was such a vibe, and he was, I think, really kind of taken aback by that, because I think he'd been in doing gym and lots of other sports in his lifetime. And he had kind of fallen headfirst into it. So he kept telling me about that. And as an adult, I mean, I was a young adult. I was 23 or 24 at the time. And so, you know, you kind of move to a new city and think, well, how am I going to make friends? How am I going to kind of do this thing? And because he had told me so much about the community of CrossFit, I was like, well, maybe I should try and find a CrossFit gym and see if I can now start it in Melbourne. And luckily enough, there was a gym right in the city that was really, really close to my work, called CrossFit CBD. And that's where I started in February of 2013, and I haven't left.
There's something about when you stay at a gym that long and end up being the owner of it. It's quite special, hey?
It's very special. And I will say that there were, you know, there's been many of events that have led up to this point, but I think that once I started on my coaching journey, I knew that I wanted to be a part of CrossFit CBD in a bigger way, whether that be in an investment, or, you know, whether that be as part of the ownership team. And yeah, here I am. It's kind of crazy, but also has been a lot of hard work. But yeah, it certainly isn't an accident that this has happened.
So from the day that you started there, how long did you kind of find it took you to pick up the ropes on all the movements? And you know, for somebody starting CrossFit these days, what would you say to them in terms of, give it a couple of, okay, I normally think between your first year, you should be able to do like your snatches, your clean and jerks at a moderate weight, nothing too heavy, but I mean, it takes a bit longer to get all the other technical things going well. What would you normally say to somebody coming in?
I actually would tell someone coming in to have, try not to have too many expectations on yourself, to be honest, because I think what CrossFit has taught me over the last 11 years is that every single person is on a completely different journey. And,
Yeah, true.
you know, for some, whether it be, whether it be adaptation, ability, or age, you know, there's going to be certain movements that may never be in somebody's scope of practice, and that's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
For someone who's never lifted a single weight before in their life, um, perhaps after 12 months using a barbell is their huge win. And, you know, that would be an extremely big achievement for 12 months worth of work, especially if that person maybe starts off using dumbbells and progressively moves their way up to an empty barbell. That's a huge win for them. So, yeah, I don't think I would have any expectations of to exactly which movements someone should be able to do within a certain amount of time. But I would
Not
like
so
to
much that.
think
I think
that
it's more
my
like,
advice to somebody new starting,
yeah, it's just to be consistent in
yeah,
that
keep
kind
going.
of way and you'll get it. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I think one of the members who started with us recently, I said to them, if you show up without looking at what the workout is for 3 months, then
Yeah.
you're going to get a much better understanding of what the methodology represents. But also you'll be exposed to a lot more movements, because you will forget about whether it's a movement that you can do or not, or you'll forget about whether it's a movement that you know or not. Instead, it'll just be about showing up to the gym. And I think that can be really important for somebody who's starting out. Just try to forget about whether it's something you think you can do or not do. If you show up, eventually over time with consistent practice, you'll get closer and closer.
Yeah, exactly. So from starting CrossFit to when you became a coach, how long was it and how did your coaching process begin?
So I went into my level 1 12 months into my CrossFit journey, and I did it because I wanted to know more. I was really hungry for more information about what this whole CrossFit thing was. we're talking back in 2013, moving into 2014 now. So there were no documentaries, there was no Netflix, there was no really even talk about the CrossFit Games much at all. I didn't even know about it, didn't really know what it was. And I was just really hungry to know more about the whole company and what it represented. And so I went and did my level 1. And after I did my level 1, I was like, I'm definitely going to be a trainer. The level 1, yeah, it was insane. The level 1 was just like, it blew my mind in terms of understanding what CrossFit really is, what the methodology really is. And they just inspired me so much with just how much they believed in what they were doing and how much they believed in changing people's lives. And I think for myself up at that point, work had really been a means of making money and supporting myself. I didn't really understand that there could be this whole different trajectory about really helping people and really changing someone's life. And after being at that seminar, I was like, wow, this is the real deal. This is something really special. And so I started interning at CrossFit CBD, and I interned one night a week alongside one of the owners for 12 months before I started taking any of my own classes. And I couldn't be more grateful for that process, because I think that it enabled me to pick up so much more about things like group management, which can be really tough and really tricky for somebody who's brand new to coaching and may have never done any of that sort of stuff before. It really gave me a head start, I think, into my coaching career, even though I'm sure many who have done their level 1 and dove straight into coaching would think, oh my gosh, having to take a whole year before you start doing that seems like a back step. But to be honest, it propelled me so much further forward.
Yeah, I think so. And especially having that year to watch and take in what other people did as well. I think that's really important when being a trainer, to gain that experience before you get kind of thrown in the deep end. That's the best way to learn, really.
It's often too about picking up some of their mistakes that they've made as well. My trainers were really vulnerable. They shared a lot with me about things that they did well, or that maybe they could have done better. After each class, it was a nice opportunity to have a little bit of a debrief, and I think that also has really helped me to self-analyze along the way, because you're not always going to have great classes. You're going to have classes where you feel like you could have done better. It was a really great opportunity to learn from some of the things that they were picking up on themselves too. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about CrossFit CBD.
CrossFit CBD.
Mm-hmm.
How many members are you sitting on at the moment, or like how many classes a week as well?
So the exact number of our membership fluctuates quite a bit, because being in the central business district, we often will have a lot of members who are here from overseas, who are traveling. They might stay for 3 months, 6 months, and then head off, and then someone will replace them. But we are sitting at around about 90-ish members at the minute, which is a nice number for us with the amount of classes that we have. We have anywhere from, 3, 4, 7 classes a day. Sometimes it's 6. We have 3 on Saturdays. We've just added a 9 a.m. class 4 days a week this year, which is really nice. So that's kind of where CBD is sitting at the moment.
Yeah, that's like such a perfect number though, between that amount of classes. And how many trainers?
Yeah, it's lovely.
How many trainers have you got as well?
Yeah, we've got 5 trainers at the moment, which is also super nice. After Karl and I basically ran every class together from just before COVID until right up until my son was born in 2022. So yeah, we took on a coach. She started the day that I went into labour with my son. And
you couldn't have timed that any better, could you?
From there, we were able to.
You couldn't have timed that any better, could you?
Well, I would have liked her to have started a little bit before that, to be honest. But he was 3 weeks early, so there wasn't really much we could do about that. luckily we had her in place, and she had been doing some shadowing and had kind of gotten a grasp on, you know, who we were and how we do things. But yeah, it was luck of the draw that she kind of just had to dive right in that moment. But we're so grateful that she was here and that we had someone to take my place, because it was looking like for a really long time there that we weren't going to have anyone, and that Karl was going to have to run it on his own, which was a very, very scary thought.
Yeah, especially with her having a newborn as well. That would have been crazy. It
was crazy with the two of them running it. So yeah, I can't imagine what it would have been like if it was just him on his own. It would have been a very, very different time. Very challenging time. It was already a challenging time. But it was kind of after I came off maternity leave. So I came back to the gym when he was just before he was 4 months. I started back working again, and then we really knuckled down and worked hard on building the gym back up after the pandemic, because it took a massive toll on us. We were closed for nearly a whole year when you add up all of the times that we were closed over the course of the 2 years. And it really took a toll on us being here in the city specifically as well, because of the working from home orders and lots of other challenges that were unique to the city. I know that all of the suburban gyms really had a hard time of it too. But the CBD was a completely different kettle of fish, purely and simply because of those work from home orders. There's just not as many people who live in the CBD as there are that work here.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you go during the time you were locked down? So were you running anything online for your members, or were you just programming for them?
We were definitely running online. I think, there are a lot of our members who did the programming in their own time, but it was really important to us that we tried to maintain that face-to-face contact, especially in a time that we knew people were really suffering, that mental health was suffering, and exercise is such an incredible part of maintaining our mental health. But so is human contact. So it was really important to us that we maintained face-to-face classes. And so we ran two. We ran one in the morning, we ran one in the afternoon on Zoom. And that was kind of the best that we could do in those circumstances. We had a lot of rules around how far we could travel. We had very strict fines in place for even opening the doors of our gym. So we were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with doing even like small group classes, because again, being in the city, our members come from out of the city and they come in. There aren't that many that were living within the CBD confines at that time. And the CBD was outside of our travel range as well. So anyone that we could actually do small group classes with would have had to have been living in and around our area.
Yeah, that's insane, hey. That whole situation really messed up the fitness industry in a way that nobody had planned or could control.
Yeah, so true. And I guess like the side effect of it was this huge lag coming back again on the other side of it. So many people stepped away from their fitness journey during that time. And so there was this huge time lag of people wanting to get back into it again. And also I think because everybody's routine changed so much, everybody was now either doing some work from home or they were doing all work from home. They had changed the way that they were doing school drop-off or childcare drop-off. They changed their whole way that they were living. And so I think it took a really long time for people to understand how their fitness journey fit back into their schedule and their routine again, especially actually going out and doing it at a facility. And then because gyms were having trouble regaining memberships because of that, they were running slightly less schedules. I know we were running less classes. So it was one of those things where, you just kind of have to keep adapting.
Big news time. Fit8 Fitness Drinks is a sponsor of this podcast. Sports recovery drinks are perfect for after any workout. Go and check out their range, link in the bio. Enjoy. You won't regret going and buying a Fit Aid sports drink. Alright, let's get back to the pod. After COVID, when everybody started migrating back into the city for work and their lifestyle, did you start going back to a pre-COVID normal then?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've kind of, in many ways, we've surpassed what pre-COVID was for us, which is phenomenal. And we're really grateful to be in the space and the place that we are now. We moved facilities as well during COVID, so we used to be on a rooftop location, and now we've moved into a basement location. So kind of completely different ends of the spectrum in terms of what we were and where we are now. But yeah, we're in a fantastic spot now, which we love, and it's been a nice little upgrade for us too. The rooftop was such a cool space, but because of how old the building was, and because of the conditions that we were in, the space was becoming run down. So there wasn't because of how old the building was and our allowances around that, there wasn't a whole lot that we could do to actually renovate there. So yeah, it came to the end of our 9 years there, and we decided it was time to find a new space, and we were able to really make this space our own. And yeah, we really love it down here.
The rooftop space that you had, wasn't it open as well? And then how did you go about like dropping weights on the floor?
So I think city gyms generally have a no dropping policy. I haven't been to a CBD gym yet where dropping weights is allowed, other than actually Adelaide, because I know that they have a huge warehouse. But before they moved to that big warehouse, I know they had a lot of complaints from neighbours around noise and stuff. So yeah, it's being in the city brings its own unique challenges, and one of those is definitely noise. And for us, vibration is another one too. So if you are in a multi-story, whether you're on the roof like we were, or now we're down in the basement, vibration travels both ways, up and down. So we've always been a no dropping gym, and our guys have always well adapted to that style of training. If there's one thing I can say about CrossFit CBD members, is that they have excellent hook grip, and their barbell cycling is also second to none. So yeah, there's always silver linings to those things, and I think you build a lot of eccentric strength when you lower down things like your deadlifts, and it can help you become a better athlete in many ways. So I know CrossFit's known for all of that kind of dropping and clanging and banging and stuff, but yeah, there are definitely ways around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so any of your members gotten far enough to go to like a Torian level?
Here, no, we haven't had we haven't had that sort of level of athlete come through our doors. I think so far, back when quarterfinals was 10% of the open. Karl, my co-owner, he made it as a masters athlete into the quarterfinals. And my best placing was top 500 in the open, for the open women's division. So in Australia, or in the Pacific region, which was quite cool. But no, it's kind of our members really love to do a competition, and they're all for it. They love team competitions. They love partner competitions. But yeah, those big competitions, they're so new as well for us. Like it's a funny thing. Like yeah, we've in the because this is a 12-year affiliate now, so the sanctionals and those big well-known competitions here, especially in Australia, they're so brand new, that it feels like it feels like a whole different thing to the competitions that I was doing when I first became an athlete. A lot of the local competitions were a big on the scene here, which were always really fun. I went back and did a competition in Adelaide as well, which was also really fun. So,
Cool.
yeah, I haven't even been to one of the big competitions yet, even just
fun.
as a spectator.
It's fun. I have been to Torian to watch twice.
Oh, fun.
And it's
Yeah,
such a
so
vibe.
good.
And it's such a vibe.
It is. It really is. I managed to get to the very last regionals they ever had down in Wollongong, which was also super fun. And I guess I thank my lucky stars now that I actually went. I wasn't going to, and it was a huge logistical nightmare. But yeah, I'm so glad I went now because it was the last one. So, you know, you never know when these things are going to just stop.
So, talking about competitions, the Open is just around the corner. This podcast will come out about the time when the Open is on. What are your predictions for this year?
Oh my goodness. Well, from everything that I've seen sort of Dave talk about, it's going to be a unique open, which is, it's really hard to predict because especially now that the workouts have moved from 5 weeks to 3 weeks, they're having to squeeze a lot in to a short span of time,
Yeah.
which is also a massive challenge in and of itself. Um, Look, I think that CrossFit is coming full circle. I think we're really starting to move back to our roots in a lot of the messaging that we're receiving and a lot of the ways that they're doing things. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw workouts that are very, very similar to, right back to 2012, 2013. Lots of like great little couplets and hopefully a new chipper. The chipper that they repeated last year with wall balls, toes to bar, muscle ups. Those are always really fun, and I think that gives them an opportunity to test a lot of movements within the one workout, or at least expose athletes to a lot of movements. Because I think that, for those of us that did do the 5 weeks, we were able to express our fitness in a lot of different ways. And now that it's moved to 3 weeks,
Absolutely.
that expression has become more limited. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I never really know what to expect. I think maybe this might be the first year we don't see wall walks after the last few. I think maybe the wall walks have had their time, but you never know.
I think a lot of people will be happy if they cancel those out, and
Well, at least give them a break for a little while.
or at least just like, can you have them later in the competition and not in the Open?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind seeing the strict handstand push up make its way back. We had that one, and I think that the standards were a lot much easier to uphold. The kipping handstand push up standard is always a point of contention for everybody across the board, myself included. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't mind seeing the strict handstand push up make its way back into the Open. I guess that's a secret want of mine.
So, out of that, how many of your members do you normally get to do the Open as well?
So I have a feeling that last year was our best ever year of attendance in the Open, which was, I think it was creeping up to close to 40. We're definitely going to match that, if not top that, this year, which will be awesome. And that's actually like signed up and registered. In terms of how many we get actually participating on the day, it can be anywhere from 50 to 60, because we get lots of drop-ins who are traveling as well, who want to come and get their open workout done too. Yeah. So we can have upwards of 50 to 60 people actually completing the workout on the day. But yeah, registrations wise, it's always around that sort of 30 mark. But we're over and above that already this year, so we're definitely going to top that.
Nice. So you talked about having a son. How did you go doing CrossFit into and while being pregnant and then coming back from it?
Yeah, I love this because it gave me a real opportunity to embrace how CrossFit is so adaptable. It gave me an opportunity to lean into scaling and to the challenges, the mental challenges that can come with having to do that. I think that as a coach, you don't get many opportunities to, for want of a better word, go backwards. You're on this trajectory and you're continuously trying to move yourself forward, and members are doing that too. But unless you get an injury, or unless you have a pregnancy or something that challenges your journey in some way, you never really get to experience what it feels like to have to be that person that scales every workout, that is put in that position, that maybe has to do a completely different workout to everybody else. And so, yeah, I really found that was a really nice time for me to lean into. Definitely had its moments of, this sucks and this is crap and I don't want to do this. But I was very lucky to be able to train throughout my entire pregnancy, to the point where the last workout that I did was the open workout 22.3. That was on the Saturday, and then I went into labor with him on the Monday. So I was able to train right up until right up until. But yeah, I was very
blame that workout for sending you into labor.
Maybe it was jumping pull-ups, so it absolutely could have, for sure. It's a big coincidence, especially him being.
I think I did the open that year, and that was a terrible workout.
Yeah, it was deadlifts. It was deadlifts and it was thrusters and jumping pull-ups. And I remember feeling pretty rubbish, to be honest. I remember feeling really rubbish on the Friday and being like, something's changed, something's different. And I had been able to give quite a lot of effort to my open workouts for the first 2 weeks. And I do remember this week I was like, I'm just going to go through the motions today and just get it done, because I definitely feel different. So I think he was already on his way, but maybe that workout helped things along a little bit. But yeah, I was very lucky to be able to train
thrusters as well.
Yeah, exactly. Very lucky to train throughout my entire pregnancy, and now I think it gives my members some confidence. We've got 3 members who are pregnant right now, so it certainly gives them confidence that they know that Karl was there to help coach me through my pregnancy. They know now that I've been through it. We've coached many other pregnant athletes in the past as well. So yeah, it's been a nice confidence booster for the women coming up through our ranks who may fall pregnant or who are pregnant, that, we can keep them moving safely and give them the right advice along the way.
How did you go coming back after you gave birth? How long did you have off and then came back?
I gave myself the 6 weeks, and then I had a natural birth, so there weren't any complications. So I gave myself the 6 weeks before I went and saw my doctor, and she gave me the all clear. Pelvic floor was fine. I was really very lucky that I didn't have any. It's a journey though, and it's a process, because you've had that 6 weeks off, but you've also had the 8 or 9 months leading up to that point of taking things very differently in your training. My first trimester, we were still in lockdown, so I hadn't done gymnastics for yonks, like actual proper gymnastics, for a really, really long time. So yeah, it was a big process for me, and it's still a process. I found the biggest roadblocks or barriers that I had in that in the first sort of 18 months after coming back, and that's only a few months back from now, is that because he was in childcare, he would get sick and then I would get sick, and so there was many logistical challenges associated with my training. I did a lot of training at home, and there were lots of times where I wasn't able to train for a week or more at a time, and that just interrupts your consistency. That just interrupts your ability to continue to progress and get results, and the challenge of going back and forth in that sort of first year and a half.
Do you find that you've come back stronger as well after having him too?
You know what? I think you always come back stronger from any kind of challenge that you face with your training, whether it be injury or whether it be a mental block, or whether you're coming back postpartum, because you have the opportunity to slow things down and to relearn movements from scratch, and perhaps erase some of the bad habits that you may have picked up and taken along with you along the road. I think it always gives you an opportunity to do that. I would say that I'm not at a place yet where I'm hitting like lifetime PRs, but I'm certainly well and truly on the path to revisiting some of my old ones, which is really exciting. And when we look at this is my 11th year of CrossFit now. So if we look at 9 years worth of work versus 2 years, to where I am now versus where I had come to at the 9 year mark, it certainly has been a much faster journey, that's for sure. And a lot of women can get caught up in that thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to take me so long to get back to where I was. But you have to think about how much time you put in pre-baby versus how much time you're going to have to put in post, and often they're very different. They're very, very different journeys, and it's nice to have that little bit of perspective.
Because you've got like the muscle memory already that, yes, you've had like 10, 12 months off, but coming back, you're not starting from completely like a new base. You're starting from about halfway then instead.
100%. Yeah, you already know the movement patterns. You already are familiar with
Yeah.
so much of the process. You're familiar with the progressions. You're familiar with how let's take a ring muscle up, for example. You remember what process you took to get there the first time. And you may have had to have built your strict pull-ups, you may have had to build your strict chest to bars, and then then go on the process of learning how to do a ring muscle up. Whereas coming back postpartum, I was able to get my strict pull-ups back really quickly, where I didn't have to go on that multi-year journey to get there the first time, which is how long it took me when I first started CrossFit, doing ring rows and doing banded pull-ups and doing all of those wonderful things. I was able to skip past all that. So muscle memory is definitely a thing, and also just intrinsic strength. Your body remembers a lot.
So, talking about having babies, what do you think about Tia coming back this year? Do you reckon she'll come back to the top of the leaderboard again?
Well, she did phenomenally at Rogue, so everything is in her favor. If there's something that we know about Tia, is that when she has a loss, and she would consider Rogue a loss, I would say. When she's had a loss, she's certainly going to use that as momentum and fuel to push her over that boundary. So yeah, I think we're certainly going to see a very fierce Tia, a very mentally strong, capable Tia, which for those of you that have followed her journey from the beginning, the mental side of it was where she struggled originally. So I mean, her postpartum journey is just incredible, and it's such an inspiration. But I think we also have to be cautious. I'll put it out there that sometimes we can get very caught up in other people's journeys and thinking that ours are going to be the same. And it all goes back to what I said before, in that we have to look at what the base of fitness was before before we gave birth, or how complicated or non-complicated that was, in order for any comparisons to be drawn. Every woman's postpartum journey is so incredibly unique.
Exactly.
And and hers has just been it's been insane, really, and incredible to watch. And she's proven, probably to a lot of women out there, that your body is much more capable than you think as well. And that's where her mental capabilities have really come into it as well. I bet that she has been telling herself this whole time to not let any barriers, or not let any negative thoughts, or not let anyone's opinions get in her way, and she hasn't.
I think definitely it will be an interesting field within Australia this year, let alone you've got Tia coming back, but Kara going team, but then you've got a few younger athletes coming up that are really strong. But then over in the big CrossFit space, when we get to the games, we've got no Annie Thorsdottir this year. Obviously, again, Kara going teams, and a few more younger ones coming up even in the world. But then also Mel O'Brien just announced that she won't be competing this year too.
Yeah, the field has been interesting recently. I'm putting all my money on Maddie Sturt this year.
Oh,
She's Yeah, she's a colleague, but she's also a client of mine. That I help with nutrition. So yeah, she's going to be one to watch this year. She's joined the Proven gang. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what she's going to do, especially for Australia. But she has the capabilities to take it all the way.
She's got the motor behind her there. Was she been to the games, but she was in a team or something a couple years ago?
Was she been to the games, but she was. She's been competing for, my gosh, at least 10 years at the games.
Yeah.
She didn't make it last year. Yeah, she didn't make it last year. But yeah, she's been at the games for a very long time.
She hasn't made it individual since before COVID.
Yeah,
right?
I actually don't know off the top of my head. That's an excellent question. It's I think for me the games got a bit foggy around there just in general because I just wasn't putting any of my time, focus, or attention that way. Every ounce of energy I had was going towards the rebuilding the affiliate, and I think I kind of lost touch with the competition side of things for a while there.
Yeah. All right, on to the next part. So, talking about ultra athletes. So, give us a bit of a rundown of what you do there and how it all started.
Yeah, absolutely. So Offsite was born out of a smaller version of it called Offsite Fitness. Just before COVID was even a thing, before anyone even knew what it was, Karl and I were looking for a way to expand our knowledge, expand our coaching abilities, expand our programming abilities to others who wouldn't be able to visit us in our affiliate. So we were really looking at finding a way to bring the box experience to somebody who needed to train at home or in a facility that was 24 hours or at a box during open gym, because we know how lonely that can be. We also know how challenging it can be to try to find the right programming, especially if you've been familiar with a box style of programming or box style of doing things. So we really sat and thought about it for a good year about how we were going to do this, and that's sort of how Offsite Fit was born. And we launched that on the 1st of January 2019, and it just so happened that COVID really wasn't that far away. So it kind of was good timing from that sense, but it was also kind of bad timing because a lot of at-home fitness businesses were born out of COVID, and for good reason. And so that space that was really kind of like not inhabited at all by anyone was all of a sudden like flooded. So we had a really nice loyal fan base who had come on with that, and yeah, it was exactly what it sounds like. We were doing and providing a CrossFit at home experience for somebody who was training alone. So we were giving them session plans, warm-ups, specific prep phase, like weightlifting progressions, workout of the day, of course, cool downs. But we were also offering workout intentions, so the way that we wanted the workout to be completed, how many rounds, what time frame, etc. And that was ticking along really nicely. And then we were offered the opportunity to purchase Ultra Athlete off of James Newbury. So we jumped on that and we merged the two together. So he didn't have at that time in the Ultra Athlete package, what do you call it? A box level of programming. So he had a competitor track, he had gymnastics, he had physique, they had triathlon, but they didn't have an affiliate level base of programming. So yeah, Offsite Fit slipped right into that really easily. And so yeah, we took on that in, I want to say that was 2021, but I might be wrong. It might have been earlier than that, but I think it was 2021. And so, yeah, we've been running them as a single company since then. And it's been another whole completely different journey with James stepping away and having had such a big influence over the the people who were following ultra athlete. We've really had to work hard in turning it into something that resembles more Karl and myself. But that's been an excellent learning journey for us, and we've really enjoyed it. And we can really only see big things happening for ultra athlete as we continue.
Did I see that you have? Is it
Did I
Ellie
see that you
Salthouse
have? Is it Ellie
doing your
Salthouse?
running program?
Yeah. Again, like very, very fortunate that her and James had a relationship, and she was doing I think more of a daily. She was doing daily programming, so more for triathletes who were off season. And for CrossFitters who wanted to add a little bit of triathlon training into their programming. So, as the games became bigger and bigger in the CrossFit space and people were seeing events like Run, Swim, Run, that's when CrossFit really crossed over into the triathlon scene. So, yep, she was doing daily programming for them. Since then, we've changed it a little bit, and she now writes block program. So she writes an excellent sprint, Olympic, and 70.3 for us. She's done a swim block as well for anyone who's kind of wanting to just increase their aerobic fitness or look at wanting to expand their swimming, because we know that it has an amazing crossover for CrossFit as well. And for those who may be going into a competition where they know that there'll be a swimming component. We've got more on the cards with her. We're in the process of writing a functional triathlon program where it'll combine triathlon programming and CrossFit together. So, yeah, watch this space. Lots of big things happening.
That's such a good combination. It is very common. I think even a couple of years ago, a lot of CrossFit athletes were, once they finished competing, were going to triathlon because they already had the engine and the aerobic capacity. Whereas now, like fast forward maybe 3 to 5 years, they're now getting merged together more often, like you said in the games. It's, crazy to see how that's happening.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's a great thing. And one of the best things that happens out of our affiliate is when our members go and jump into triathlons, or they go and run a marathon, or they start doing something that they never thought that they would be able to do had they not had the CrossFit base that they have. We've had a member take up rock climbing since starting CrossFit because she finally felt as though she was strong enough and capable enough to actually jump in and start doing it. So I love it. I think it's a fantastic way to represent the CrossFit methodology, which is, sport being the top of our pyramid. Once you have all of the base fitness, then you can literally go and do whatever you want. And CrossFit gives you that confidence.
I think so, yeah, very much so. And CrossFit also gives you the muscle strength that you need to be able to do all those kind of events. Like, you need your strong upper body for your swim, and then your strong core and everything to be a good cyclist and running, which comes through like your heavy squats and deadlifts as well.
I totally agree. And I think what I would love to see as we move forward is sport using CrossFit as a way to help their athletes remain super strong and super fit and super capable, because it will only enhance their sport. I think if we're able to separate CrossFit as a sport and CrossFit as a training methodology, people will be able to see just how much of an impact utilizing the CrossFit methodology can have on their particular sport. And it doesn't really matter what it is. I've recently taken up ballet again this year, and I know for a fact that if it wasn't for all of the CrossFit training that I had done, that I wouldn't have been able to, earn my point shoes and get up on point and do that without really having to do a lot of dance training in the lead up. So I'd love to see that happen more and more, especially younger kids as well, coming into things like AFL, cricket, netball, basketball. All of those things can really benefit so much from an off season of CrossFit.
Well, that's what they've already been doing in the big leagues of all different sports in America, right?
Yeah, it's pretty prevalent.
And especially the armed forces as well.
Yeah, I think that it's probably going to start emerging more and more as we start talking about it more, and we start understanding just how important it is to for athletes to be strong. Be strong outside of the drills and the techniques that they would use in their training sessions. Outside of that, they need to be strength training. They need to be, and they need to be functional as well. We need to see athletes training their squat below parallel and working on things like explosive box jumps and all of the gymnastic skills that we do on a regular basis. So much of that has an incredible carryover to all of the ways that these athletes move their body. And if they can do it here in a safe environment where they are being watched under load, then when they go out and they get hit on the field, or they get knocked over, or something happens to them, their ligaments and their joints are in a much better place to actually be able to handle it, and their recovery will be so much better for it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with what you just said. So, on to the next part is name a sliding door moment in your life where you've kind of turned left or right and it's kind of changed the progression of your life.
Yeah, well, we touched on my quitting my full-time job, and that was definitely a sliding doors moment for me, because there had been two people that had taken my position, I guess, before I became an owner as full-time coach here. There were two other people who had taken that position because I had turned it down. I hadn't really given myself an opportunity to go down the path of looking at what really the financials would be. As I said, how much it would impact my partner at the time. I didn't even really entertain it as an idea, but two people had come and gone, and this was the third time it was being offered to me. And I think that I knew in my gut that if I didn't take it this time, that somebody else would have stepped in and taken it and probably stayed. So yeah, that was definitely it for me. If I had gone and said no and they had found someone else, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't be sitting here right now in the position that I'm in. But it was kind of like, well, you're either staying in your full-time job and doing this as a fun thing, or you're taking it more seriously and you're diving in headfirst and you're sacrificing, a lot of the lifestyle joys that you've had, because it was going to be, as I said, a big pay cut for me at the time. And you have to make a choice, and in the end what won was that I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. I wanted to do something that I felt was going to give meaning to my life, not just now, but for the rest of my life. And especially now that I have a son, I couldn't be more proud that I do something that helps people live better, more functional, longer lives.
How do
I
you
couldn't be
think
more proud of that. And I,
your like design background coming into a gym? So especially when you started this underground as like gym, did you happy with the design and the fit out?
Yeah, it's funny. I think Carl had a vision for what he would like the gym to be. And I think him and I have always really joked that our roles here are that he's the ideas guy, and I'm the executor. So he comes up with all the brilliant ideas, and then I've got to find a way to make it work. So a lot of my skills being a project manager have definitely come in and helped us do what we do. And yeah, it was refining some of his ideas into what the box is now, which has been a beautiful collaborative process, I have to admit. And a lot of my design skills have actually come in handy for things like social media. So I manage all of our social media, do all of our posts, and all of the skills that I learned at university using the Adobe programs, InDesign and Illustrator, Photoshop. Yeah, those skills have come in incredibly handy for what we do here, because I know that a lot of people struggle with their socials. And we have loads more tools that we can use now, which is incredible. But you get an eye for things. You get an eye for layouts and stuff like that, which have certainly come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about your son as well, do you find what's the importance of showing him a healthy lifestyle?
Oh my goodness, so big. It's so big. I love that he gets to grow up in a family who prioritize health and fitness. I love that he gets to grow up in a family who put their self-care on a pedestal in that way as well, so that he can see that it's incredibly important to take care of himself, and that it's okay to put that first and make it a priority. I love that he gets to grow up in a beautiful community of people who just adore him, and that he can see how much being in a athletic environment like this can bring people together. But I also love the fact that he gets to grow up to see that exercise can be fun, and that people choose to do this because it is fun. It's challenging, but it is also fun, and that side of it as well. That it's we thrive on challenge. Human beings are funny. We love our comfort zones, and we love to sit in our comfort zones and be very comfortable there, and but we also thrive on a challenge, and we really reap the rewards of doing something that's hard. And I just can't wait for him to see it more and more. Already this is his second home. He's very comfortable here. He'll pick up dumbbells. He will copy me. He'll do burpees. And he loves coming into our home gym and doing stuff with me as well, which is absolutely stunning. But I want to keep it fun. And I think that that's really incredibly important. I never want him to feel pressured that this is something that he has to do. I would just love for him to want to do it because we've made it enjoyable, and we've made it a very welcoming and exciting place to be. So, yeah, it's big. It's a big thing. It's a really big thing.
So what are you consuming at the moment in terms of podcasts, TV shows, books?
I am currently reading. The title has escaped me, but it's the book written by it's the book written by the man who started Pixar. I think it's called Creativity or something along those lines. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's all about his journey.
Creativity Inc.
Yes, Creativity Inc. That's exactly it. Yeah. It's all about his journey starting Pixar and running a business. And I started consuming that because I was re-consuming Brené Brown. I consume her on a regular basis, whether that be her TED Talk or her Netflix special or her books or anything that she speaks on, because I just adore the way that she talks about vulnerability. And I also love the way that she talks about bringing that into the business space, especially managing staff and working with others. We're so lucky to have the staff that we have. We have brilliant staff here at CrossFit CBD. Our coaches, Ryan, Kirby, and Anthony, are all phenomenal. And it's so important to me now as a business owner, a manager, whatever you want to call it, that I maintain really excellent relationships with those that work here, that work under our roof, that bring our values to the forefront, and carry that forward with our members. Being able to be open and vulnerable with them about when I've ran a bad class, or when I feel like I didn't do the best job. I think you need someone to tell you that that's a good thing. You need reinforcement, because it's certainly not the environment that I was brought up in my working environment. I was never exposed to managers or those that were higher up than me be vulnerable in any way, and so it's certainly something that I really wanted to bring to CrossFit CBD. And so, consuming a lot of her has been really vital in becoming a business owner for me. So she went and spoke at Pixar, and she talked about this book on one of the in one of her books that I think it's Daring Greatly, she talks about talking at Pixar. So naturally, that was the next place for me to go.
Brilliant. In terms of social media, what are the common topics for people that you're seeing on there?
Wow, this one's hard because I have 3 Instagram accounts.
So do
one
I.
for me, one for the gym.
So do I.
Yeah, one for me, one for the gym, one for Ultra. Ultra was already established, and so on Ultra, if I accidentally end up scrolling that feed, I get caught up in a lot of people who were training at Seoul or were kind of around James and Kayla at the time. So I feel very disconnected from that social feed because I don't know a lot of the people that they're following. But there are also some good ones in the triathlon space and in even in the HIIT space that they were following, which has kind of diversified the feed a little bit. CrossFit CBD is all CrossFit, and it's all old school CrossFit. So it's like Jason Kalipa and Chris Spieler, and it's the Josh Bridges, but it's also Talking Elite Fitness, and it's Chase Ingram, and it's Denise Thomas, and it's Don Fall, and the CrossFit Book, and a lot of those that have been.
Any Savan on there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And can I also just say that I'm really glad that he's brought back his documentaries. They are terribly shot, but they are very, very fun to watch. So yeah, I'm really, really happy about that. So yeah, that's a lot of old school CrossFit content there. And then my feed's super diversified. I think lately it's around a lot of topics around working with toddlers and food. I follow a lot of other nutrition coaches, and I try to follow as many of my members and my clients as I can as well. So yeah, it's a mess is what it is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. Because I work so much on socials, I actually don't scroll very much. So I do actually, it's weird. I actually have to kind of force myself to go through my feed from time to time because I miss out on things that my family posts, and I miss out on a lot of that sort of stuff because if you don't tag me, or if it's, if you're not tagging one of the gyms, I'm probably not going to see it.
Of course, yeah. On to the listener questions. So one of the listeners said you have a policy in the gym where you don't allow mobile phones. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we do actually. We've had this policy in place from the get-go, and it's something that we have revisited actually from time to time. I want to be really transparent here in saying that, like, once we set a policy in place, it's not set in stone forever. We know that times change, and we do constantly revisit, and this is something that we've revisited just recently. But as more and more content comes out about our exposure to mobile devices and our inability to switch off, we feel that the gym is a space that should happen for 2 reasons. One, so that you can actually reap the mental health benefits of exercise, because if you are thinking, or if you're receiving text messages or emails on your Apple Watch, or if you've got your mobile phone and you're filming yourself and you're looking at it and you're seeing notifications come through, you're being taken away from that space, and you're being taken away from that place where you can actually disconnect. The other one is that if you're busy looking at your phone or setting up your phone or being distracted by notifications, then you're not listening to your coach. And we're here to guide you, we're here to teach you, we are here to improve your movement, and we're here to help you master movement. And so if you're being distracted by something else external, then our ability to do that is also hindered. There's probably also a third one here that
people wearing
yeah, sorry, continue.
You just like the Apple Watch. You just tell them to put their watches on like an aeroplane mode while they have their exercise on.
Yeah, we do try to we hope that our members are doing that. It's probably not something that we verbalize a lot, but we do talk about in terms of our phone policy. I guess the good thing about the Apple Watch is that you can't film on it, you can't take photos on it, so it's slightly different from the phone in that way. And that was kind of where I was coming to with the third one, in that we've tried to make CrossFit CBD a very open, inclusive, and safe space for people. And not everybody likes to be filmed, and not everybody wants their workout posted on social media. And being in a smaller gym and a more intimate space, it's really important for us to be able to provide that safe space for people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying there. That's such a smart idea. And I wish more places did it like that.
Yeah, to be
So,
honest, we all just need more opportunities to switch off.
yeah, oh no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, back to your nutrition side. So you've got a few athletes on your books at the moment, and
Yeah, I've got two really important athletes on my roster right now. Maddie, obviously being my games athlete, and then I also have Caitlin, who is at Charge CrossFit, also here in Victoria. She went and did the Down Under Championships just recently. And so I'm supporting her through her next open and quarterfinal to see where she can get to in 2024. So yeah, they're my two athletes that are on my books right now, which I'm really excited and happy to be working with. It certainly challenges me because it takes me outside of, I guess, what I've been comfortable working in, which has been mums. It's been athletes who are chronically under eating. That's been one of my specialties. Certainly the psychology around food. So yeah, it's taken me away from, I guess, what I would consider my bread and butter. But it's been such a joy, and I guess it takes you into somebody's journey that's different to the everyday athlete. These girls have big dreams and big hopes and big goals, and to be a part of that is equally exciting and also very scary.
I think that topic, like you were saying about the under eating, when you get into a sport like CrossFit or triathlon, when you increase your training load by that much, it's very common that people don't eat enough to be able to fuel their output, really.
Yeah, and it's a scary thing for a lot of people as well, because they often come to the gym to lose weight. So eating more in order to facilitate training that they're doing because they want to lose weight seems mentally counterintuitive. And so working with them one-on-one allows me to dive into some of those fears and allows me to debunk some of the common misconceptions that are around food, specifically that increasing your output is more important than the way that you change your diet. So yeah, it's allowed me to have some really, really important conversations. And I think CrossFit can be credited in a big way for want of a better word, allowing women to eat more. Because this is it's not immune for men. Men fall into the category as well, but it's certainly something that we see prominent in women, and CrossFit has really allowed us to open up that conversation and give women permission to eat more.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So, is there anything else you want to add before we get on to the fun part?
Oh my gosh, there's a fun part.
There
I
is a
think
fun part.
when I was reading when I was reading your list of questions, one of the things that I think I wanted to talk about was that we often mislabel CrossFit as a sport, and I think that
What do you think about everybody calling CrossFit a cult?
Look, you know what? I don't mind it being a cult. I think, as far as cults go, this is an excellent one to join. So, please don't be afraid to join the the CrossFit cult. But I think it's really important for me to mention about CrossFit being called a sport, because for most of us, 99% of us, 99% of the time, we are not doing CrossFit as a sport. We are following the CrossFit training methodology. And the only time that we would actually be doing CrossFit as a sport is when we're participating in the open, or when we actually compete in competition, or we move into training specifically for competition. CrossFit as a training methodology is so different to what we see as CrossFit as the sport. And often what we see as CrossFit as the sport doesn't actually resemble what CrossFit, the training methodology, is. So it's been this very interesting dissection since the CrossFit Games came about. And I think we all need to talk about it more, that, we really are a training methodology and we're not a sport, because we don't have a game every Saturday. We don't have a competition every other week. We're training for life. This is a lifelong endeavor, and it's not that we're training for a specific date or a specific game, or we're trying to win a match. This is a lifelong pursuit of fitness. And when we start to look at it that way, we're able to take ourselves out of the competition mindset and more into the longevity of what we're doing, which is to making sure we're scaling appropriately, making sure we're leaning into proper movement mastery. And it helps people to really focus on giving their best on the day. And that doesn't always mean running face first into a brick wall, because that's what we perceive CrossFit as the sport to be, this very, very high intensity output every single day. We need to remember that intensity is allowed to undulate, and it is completely dependent on you, your fitness age, your actual physical age, your fitness background, and whatever else you've got going on in your life. You bring the amount of intensity you need to bring each and every single day, and scale to that, and scale appropriately, and make sure that you are mastering movement, doing movement properly, so that you can actually end up in the place that we all want to end up, which is out of nursing homes and able to move functionally and able to take care of ourselves independently. And we can only do that if we see CrossFit as a training methodology and move away from looking at it solely as a sport. There's a sporting side, but it's not what we do here in the box.
Yeah, you said that very well. But hypothetically, what would you think if there was a modification of CrossFit that went into the Olympics? Because you've already got your weightlifting there, you've already got your gymnastics. Imagine if they had like another sport that came in.
Hey, I'm I'm all for more expressions of the sporting side of it, for sure. Yeah, I'm all for my members joining competitions, and I'm all for them putting themselves out there and doing CrossFit as a sport. I just think it's so important that we remember that what we do in the affiliate on a day-to-day basis is that we're following the CrossFit training methodology, so that people can so that they can apply it to themselves in a much more effective way.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, affiliates within Melbourne, do you have anything to do with other affiliates? Do you ever like team up and do events or anything?
We haven't teamed up and done events with other affiliates specifically, other than just recently. I guess the best example I can give is that we borrowed a whole heap of truck tires from Charge CrossFit to use in one of our events that we did. But we will cross over. I've done an individual competition at CrossFit Moorabbin. Karl and I have done a pairs competition at CrossFit Knoxfield. We try to maintain excellent relationships with those that are forged, that's used to be CrossFit U.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree that they should be working together. All right, let's get on to the fun stuff. So it's called 5 Fast Questions. The numbers are in between 1 and 20. It's the first number, the first thing that comes to your mind after you pick the number, you just spit out the answer.
Okay, question number 7.
Okay, number 7 is, what is your coffee order?
I actually don't drink coffee, absolutely never have in my life. I've tried many times, especially when I worked in corporate. It was always kind of pushed upon me as if it was something that just everybody did and that I should also do it, but I just could not get behind it no matter what I tried. Even a mocha just was a no-go for me. And as much as I love chocolate, I can't have a hot chocolate all the time. So Fit Aid is my caffeinated beverage of choice. You ask anyone in the gym and they will probably say the exact same thing about me. It is something that I have become known for. And Karl is definitely the coffee drinker in our house for me, always for the Fit Aid.
in terms of that. I have just been talking to them about teaming up about a sponsorship for the podcast. Absolutely. And I think it might be on by the time your episode comes out. So good. Next number. Okay, number 15 is your favourite place in the world.
My favourite place in the world, definitely CrossFit CBD. Always has, probably always will be. It is my home away from home. It was the place that embraced me when I didn't know anybody, but also it is the place that Karl and I have now built up from the ground together. It's something that we worked incredibly hard on in probably the hardest time that either of us have ever had to go through. We moved the gym during a lockdown, a really long lockdown here in Melbourne. And it was one of those times where we really just had to pull something together really quickly, but neither of us wanted it to be that way. Neither of us wanted it to feel like it was pulled together really quickly. And so I guess one of the benefits of being in lockdown was that we were able to plan for it for a really long time, but we just had a really, really short amount of time to execute it. It was a passion project for both of us, and we worked tirelessly. We worked through the night, we worked all hours of all the days. I was doing nutrition check-ins between painting or pulling up carpet, ripping up nails out of the floor. It was an incredible feat, and every time I walk in there now, I never forget the fact that our literal blood, sweat and tears are within the walls. And also our love and our passion for each other and for what we do for our career and the place that we want to provide for people. It's all there in that space. I love bringing Finley there. It just feels like home, even more so than my actual house. It's a very strange feeling, but one that I hope we're able to impart on anybody who walks through the doors of CrossFit CBD. It is Karl and I wrapped up in a bow.
Next number, 18, is if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
I would change the way that we see each other. Such a big disparity amongst all of us in the world. I wish we could work together. I wish that we could see the best in each other. I wish that we could embrace each other with open arms. And I wish that for the future. I wish that for the future that Finley will grow up in. I wish that for my own future. Maybe it's because we have such a cultural diversity in our gym. We get people from all over the world. We get to meet incredible human beings from all over the world, from all different religious backgrounds, from all different walks of life, from all different upbringings. Sexual orientation, you name it. We are in such an incredible position to meet these wonderful human beings, and we get to see them mix in a fitness methodology of all places. We see them come together, we see them help each other out, we see that we can all be here together, help each other, be there for each other, support each other, be each other's biggest cheerleaders. I know that answer is incredibly complicated and way, way bigger than my own brain could ever imagine. But if I could wish one thing for the world, that would be it. I would love to see us come together and find common ground in each other as human beings.
So good. All right, 2 more to go. What's your next number? Okay, number 2 is coffee or Fit Aid with somebody dead or alive. Who are you having it with?
Well, obviously I'd be drinking Fit Aid, not coffee. And I'd want to introduce them to it as well, make sure that they knew how good it was. But RuPaul Charles is the first person that comes to my mind. You know, I didn't really know much or anything at all about the drag scene before I was introduced to this program by a good friend of mine, Mahali. He introduced it to me and I was hooked, and it got me through one of the darkest times of my life. Whether that was because at the beginning it was all about you know, more of a reality TV show where everybody was kind of getting at each other behind each other's back. But it has taught me a lot about gay culture. It's taught me a lot about drag culture. It's taught me a lot about acceptance and growing up differently, growing up with a different view of the world. And my God, he's had some incredible nuggets of wisdom throughout the seasons. I think and there are so many now, but even if you didn't add in all of the All-Stars and the UK versus the world and all of the extra little spin-offs, even if you just watched the episodes through from season 1, he has a very, very articulate way of talking about growing as a human being, growing mentally so that you can accomplish anything you want.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
He was one of those incredible people who knew that he was destined for something really big, and he let that be the driver of his life, and he never ever let anything else come between that and what he knew his destination was, which I think is just incredible, because I, for one, haven't had a sense of exactly what I wanted to do or what I was meant to be, but I think I've always had a sense that I was meant to be something in the world. And it sounds really hard to say out loud, but I think that that's something that he's taught me through the television, is to have big dreams and believe in those big dreams and be invested in that, and knowing it and knowing that it will come true is how you end up being successful. And we teach that in CrossFit all the time, that you need to believe, you need to see the outcome before it's even happened, you need to visualize you being successful at the lift or at the gymnastics movement before you even go there. If you've already told yourself you're not going to make it, you've already talked yourself out of it before you even pick up the bar and see what happens. It's why people will PR their lifts when they don't know what weight is on the bar, because they haven't had the opportunity to talk themselves out of it. I am incredibly inspired by him and his journey and everything that he has been through, and it's been a complete opposite life to the one that I have lived. So interesting. The second person is purely just because I have loved them, I've grown up with them, they have been there through the entire stages of my journey of my life, and that would be to have to sit down with Blink-182. They've broken up, they've gotten back together, they've done side projects, they've broken up again, they've gotten back together. I've always had this thing for Tom DeLonge, so if I had to choose one of them, it would be him. They've been there through the whole thing.
Love that. Yeah. What's your last number? Okay, number 4 is something to look forward to in your future.
Look, everything changed when I became a mum. Everything. And I am so looking forward to seeing Finley grow up. I know that a lot of mums talk about missing the newborn stage and, you know, being sad that their babies are growing up. And I am just loving seeing him grow up. I'm loving every piece of the journey, every new milestone, every new word, every new thing that he does, that he copies. It's just incredible. It's incredible to watch, and I just cannot wait to see who he becomes. I can already see who he is. He's a gentle, kind, loving little boy. He has this incredible attractive nature about him. People are drawn to him, and I can't wait to nurture that and see what kind of little person he is going to be as he grows up. The world isn't exactly the world that I would love for him to grow up in, but I'm excited for him to grow up in a CrossFit gym. I'm excited for him to have that beautiful community around him. They already adore him, take care of him, rally around him, gush over him. It's just awesome. And whether he decides to do CrossFit or not, that part of it doesn't bother me as much, but I the part that does is that he gets to see exercise as a fun element of life, that people choose to do it and that people choose to keep coming back to it because they enjoy it and they enjoy who they do it with. They enjoy the results that they get from it, and they enjoy the hard work and the process. Because exercise can be fun, but it's also hard work. And I think that to be able to instill those values into him through a vehicle such as CrossFit is pretty cool. I'm really excited for him to go along that journey and to be that generation of babies who are being brought up by CrossFit coaches and CrossFit athletes, and who grow up living in the gym or being in the home gym and around the gym, seeing that their parents make exercise a priority for themselves, and that they can do incredible things, that I can do the things that dad can do, and I can be strong. I can be strong just as much as dad can be strong. It's exciting. It's exciting as a mother. It's exciting as a mother of a son, particularly. Yeah, I can't wait. I don't want to wish it away, but I can't wait. It's very exciting.
How good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much. Wow, how interesting was Steph. It's such a great story that she had, coming from living in Adelaide and making the big move to Melbourne, and out of that becoming a CrossFit coach and owner of an affiliate. And I think it's quite inspiring to see that somebody is changing that many people's lives every day in such a cool setup. Also, additionally, sorry for a few of the technical issues there. We had a problem while recording, but it turned out alright in the end. So I'll go and tag all the Steph Instagram pages and all the notes in the show notes. So if you're in Melbourne, go and drop into CrossFit CBD and give it a go. Also, a big thank you to FitAid Fitness Drinks for sponsoring this podcast. So why don't you go and share it with a friend, go and put it on one of your social media stories, and go and like us on Instagram, Facebook. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Have the best week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.